Welcome to the Willie Lawson Show, a special edition of the Willie Lawson Show here on BlogTalkRadio. It is an interesting day. Herman Cain has just announced that due to the pressure on he and his family from what he characterizes as baseless allegations, that he is indeed suspending his campaign, and what that means in English is that there's so much crap that he's decided that this is too big a deal for his family and himself, that he is quitting, that he said, y'all can have this. Well, and what I wanted to do by this short show, we're only going to be on until 3:30 or so, is give those of you who are listening, and I know this is no notice, so if you are out there, if you got in the Twitter feed or the Facebook, then you can go ahead and click on. You've clicked on and you're listening. An opportunity to say what you think, because I'm going to say what I think for sure. I'm going to first say this. I'm going to say to the idiots, and I've said this. You can never prove that you didn't do something. You can't. If I said you did and you said you didn't, you can't prove that you didn't. It's impossible to prove the negative. Impossible. You can't. So this whole idea of, well, he should have come up with some proof on how he didn't. How in the hell do you do that? It's not possible. It's just not possible. It's not possible. You can't do it. You just can't. If it wasn't obvious that the left, the establishment Republicans, and I'll say that before because I believe that there's a game being played here, didn't conspire, and I'm not saying that they conspired. They sat in the room and figured this out. But once it got started, it was certainly easy to hop on, to hop on board with it, keep it going. It was pretty easy to do that. But it was interesting that we're still letting it happen. We still let it happen. While we're waiting for people to call, if they call, I know this is something that people will probably listen to in archives. But what I want to say to you who support other Republican candidates is that it is just a matter of time before mainstream media decides who they want, and more importantly, who they don't want. Isn't it interesting that we saw this happen? We've seen this happen with Michelle Bachmann when she got into the campaign, when she got into the race. Mainstream media turned and fired. They didn't fire hard enough to push her out. And why don't I think that is? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they didn't have the help of establishment Republicans. They didn't. So they couldn't push her all the way out. But they pushed her to the level of irrelevant. Michelle Bachmann is irrelevant. They did. Now, Rick Perry gets in the race, and what happens? He makes a couple of stumbles. Mainstream media turns, fires. Because he's a front runner. Turns and fires. What happens? What happens? Not quite irrelevant, but certainly not a front runner. is he still in the race? Well, because they didn't have the help of establishment Republicans. Herman Cain bubbles to the surface in the Florida straw poll, scares them, scares the left, scares mainstream media, because they know what the history is in Florida. They know what the history is. They get that. So goes the I-4 corridor, so goes Florida, and Florida with Republicans, and Florida is it has done the best in integrating Tea Party Republicans into the Republican Party without much consternation. There's been some, but not nearly as much. Guess what? They know there's Herman Cain, and they're afraid of him. And they are afraid of him. So not only do they turn and fire, they turn and fire with something that's always the nuclear option, and something they know that most of you are scared of: sex. Sex and money. We need to find something on this guy. On the other people, they've got voting records. Perry, they had the whole, the whole immigration thing. Bachman, they've got the Pray the Gay Away thing and voting record. They didn't have anything on Herman Cain. So if you don't have anything on somebody, you know what you do? You dig until you find something. And whatever you find, you expand and use. You know? That's what you do. You find and you use. 2 sexual harassment charges while Mr. Cain was the president of or chair of the National Restaurant Association. Let's see if we can expand that. Well, they tried that, and guess what? It sort of fizzled. They shot it out there thinking that it would be the kill shot, and it wasn't. So what did they have to do? They had to up the game, and they upped the game. The difference was that a candidate like Herman Cain also scares people like Reince Priebus. That's right. This also scares people like Reince Priebus. Also scares people like Reince Priebus. Certainly easy then at that point, a lot easier for the kill shot to go in. Continue. Certainly easier. And that's exactly what happened. And what we saw just a little bit ago was the end of Herman Cain's campaign. What we've seen, actually, and you know what, everybody tries to put a positive spin on these things as they can, but the fact of the matter, what we've seen is the end of any influence, any positive influence from someone like Herman Cain. This is also, and let me help you with this, this is also a shot across the bow for the rest of minority conservatives. People like Reince Priebus are saying to you and to me, you have your place. Keep it. Reince Priebus, go to hell. How about that? Mainstream media says, see, we told you. You know, the most frustrating thing about all this is that I'm going to hear from Democrats who didn't support Herman Cain, who continually ask, especially black Republicans, black conservatives, why do you keep doing what you do? I'll tell you today, I don't know why. Today, I really don't know why. Because what I continue to see is a constant supply of gutless wonders. Gutless wonders. That's what I continue to see. And I saw this, and I'll use the word because, you know, the left uses the word, I'll use the word. I saw this high-tech lynching of Herman Cain that worked, and I heard everybody on the right quiet. I didn't hear anybody on the right say, hey, we're not going to let this sort of thing determine who gets to be president, who gets to stay in the race. We're just going to go ahead and allow it. And what bothers me even greater is to see that the rank and file are the biggest bunch of gutless wonders ever. I know why people aren't in the Republican Party. I know why conservative black people avoid the Republican Party. I do. Because you have a history of being gutless, a recent history, which is frustrating because it is the antithesis of what Republicans ought to be or have been. Today, you are gutless. Today, we watched something that was horrible. We watched mainstream media, the left, and gutless Republicans destroy the reputation of a good man. As President Obama says, mission accomplished, job well done, and goes on a 17-day vacation. Let me help you. If you think that there is one single person there in the people that are left, in the 8, that mainstream media will not go after and destroy because they know that you are gutless, you're wrong. You are wrong. That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it. Perry, gone. Bachman, gone. Pawlenty, gone. Huntsman, well, they like Huntsman. Let's see if Huntsman gets a boost. Mitt Romney, let's see if he gets a boost. I'm telling you, man, what bothers me more about any of this is how we continue to let mainstream media, people like Jeannie Garofalo, people like Chris Matthews, people like Anderson Cooper, lead this discussion. You know what? I just will not let these SOBs tell me who I should be voting for. And if you do, you're a gutless wonder. And that's what just happened. You let them create this. You know, this is a tweet from Brian Sussman from the Brian Sussman Show. Heard in the DNC. Whew, we can now go back to fully casting Republicans as hating blacks. True. Nice job, everybody. And for some of you idiots who think that that's not a discussion and that doesn't push this whole court of public opinion, which is a kangaroo court to start with, you're wrong. You're just wrong. And not letting this go out to its natural conclusion, what you have done is that you have made it impossible Nice job, buttholes. Impossible. Impossible for conservative minorities, first of all, to win anywhere in the country. Any gains that we might have gained had this process gone out to its natural conclusion, and the natural conclusion is that you just run out of money and you can't continue. But it's ended like this, with the mainstream media, left, that was a Republican win. The worst possible thing has happened. You know, let me tell you, there is no enthusiasm. I mean, I was on the conservative Republican forum with Stephen Rosenblum the other day. We were talking about enthusiasm. You know and I know there is absolutely, positively no enthusiasm about any of the other candidates. The only two campaigns that have any enthusiasm, any fired up base behind them were Herman Cain and Ron Paul. That's just the truth. Mitt Romney's been running for president for 5 years. Mitt Romney got out last time because he was tired of spending his own money or basically knew that he couldn't win. And now it's back. Mitt Romney is a Republican version of Barack Obama. Not because I don't like Mitt Romney. He's a nice enough guy. If you look what happened in Massachusetts and you look what's happened in the nation, tell me, there's some scary similarities there, aren't there? Scary similarities. And I'm going to tell you what, let me help you with this, because some of you are too freaking stupid to figure this out for yourselves. You just are. You're morons. You're just useful idiots. Here's the deal. Some of you won't figure this out, but let me help you figure this out. Mainstream media will let you have your love affair with Newt Gingrich until they decide it's time to bring Newt down. They've already thrown some hand grenades up there until it's time to bring Newt down and push Mitt. And some of you are just lemmings. You'll go right along like lambs to the freaking slaughter. Because that's how it's going to play out. You know it and I know it. There'll be no Santorum. There'll be no freaking Santorum. There won't be any Bachman at the end of this. There won't be any Gingrich or Paul at the end of this. There won't be any of that. None of it. None of that. No, it won't. It'll be Romney. Why? Because mainstream media has wanted Romney since the very beginning. Why? Because they can beat him. You know it and I know it. And in a state like Florida where Republicans are outnumbered by 60,000 plus, 600,000. 600,000. President Obama wins. And they know that too. But some of you don't have the guts to speak out when it gets tough, when they throw rocks. You fall like little girls. Yeah, today I'm angry. It's a good thing that I'm going to be out next week. I'm not going to do this next week. It's such a good thing. Good thing for you, good thing for me. Because I'm angry. But a bunch of you simply don't have the stones. You just don't. To support what's right. To move forward, to try. To understand the big picture. Because that's what they're doing. They are. They're forcing you to Mitt Romney. Fortunately, some of us are smart enough to figure out, even if it's freaking Mitt Romney, it's going to be as important to make sure that members of Congress are still connected to their constituency, and that we have fewer and fewer establishment Republicans. And I'll continue to use that phrase. And let me help you when I start talking about establishment Republicans, so you know the kind of people I'm talking about. The kind of people like Susan Collins and Olympia Snow, people like that. Those are the kind of people I'm talking about. People who might as well be Democrats. Might as well. Those people. Those folks who are completely and totally disconnected with reality, that have actually been part of the problem. Those people in Congress who are responsible for huge Republican losses along the way, because they refuse to be the kind of Republicans that got them elected, that got themselves elected. So when I hear from supposed conservatives that we're looking for somebody different, we're looking for somebody outside the Beltway, the answer is, oh, hell no, you're not. Look what just happened. Look what we just let happen. Because you know what? If America would have stood up, we could have stopped it. But what I watched around me was just the opposite. You know, where the studios are, there's somebody who had a Herman Cain sticker on their car, and last week took it off their car. And I said, why? Well, he's going to be out. Well, who says? The whole idea of self-fulfilling prophecies, isn't it? Why? Because you out there, the rank and file, are freaking gutless. And today I'm angry with you. Today I'm disappointed and I'm angry. Because you are the sheep that will be pushed into slaughter. You're the same people who rail against the rhinos and then follow right behind them. You're the same people who say, well, you know, we should have a minority outreach program. Except you never go. You never reach out. Most of you pay lip service to whatever you say you believe. The fact of the matter is that most of you don't believe anything. That's the fact. I mean, that's the reality. Most of you don't believe anything. Nothing. Most of you aren't willing to sacrifice anything. Most of you think that somehow that everybody is supposed to be perfect who runs for office. Well, except for Barack Obama. And what bothers me the most is that you are some of the same people who are going to let mainstream media magnify every fault of the other 8 candidates that are left to the point where you are going to be gutless and sit home next November. You will. I don't have any faith in you. None. I have no faith in you because you're gutless. Not only won't you vote, you won't work for candidates. You won't work for candidates on a local level. You won't work for candidates on a state level. You won't do it because you're gutless. You've shown it. You've proven it to me time and time again. And today is just another day of where you've proven it to me. So, frankly, I don't know why I go on. I don't know why I go on. I don't. except that I don't want to have that conversation with my grandkids that says, "Oh yeah, Grandpa, you were around when the Republic crashed. What were you doing?" I don't want to say I was cowering under my desk. I don't want to say that I was pretending it didn't happen because I was more concerned with who won Dancing with the Freaking Stars. That's what. That's why I go on. I don't want to say that I was paying lip service to anything. I stuck it out there. I stuck my face, my reputation out there for real. That's what I want to be able to say. I want to be able to say, you know what, kids, I did my very best. Me and your grandma, the very best. And it's sad that we may have failed you. But it's not because we didn't try. It's not because there weren't tears. It's not because there wasn't anger. But there was never resignation. We never gave up. We never quit. We're not going to quit now. But some of you, when I get back off my little vacation, are going to get the ass whooping of your lives. Most of you won't have the guts to tune in. You won't. But that's okay. The strong will. The strong will survive. Listen, I got to get out of here. Thanks so much for tuning in to this special edition of the Willie Lawson Show. As a program note, we will be off the air live all week long. It's my anniversary week. We will not be on the air Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We will be on next month, the following Monday on the 12th, where we're having a campaign show. We're going to have it out on the veranda here at the Spaceball Production Studios, and there'll be people coming who are coming to support my campaign for county commissioner here in Hillsborough County. So we'll have that on the 12th, the 13th. We're going to have Adam Hasner, who is a U.S. Senate candidate, somebody who has guts, somebody who's going to fight, somebody who won't quit, somebody who's attached to their constituency, and somebody who can actually make changes in the U.S. Senate. Unlike some of you, he is not a gutless wonder. So we're looking forward to that on the 13th when we get back. Again, the 12th is another campaign show. It ought to be fun. It ought to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of good people in the area who are going to drop by. All right, until then, go out there and have a great week. Again, we won't be here. And there's recorded shows on Red State Talk Radio Network all week. Until then, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself.